Welcome to another episode of the Impossible Life Podcast. I'm your co-host, Nick Surface, and I'm looking across at a man who, if there's an easy way and a hard way, he'll take the hard way twice, just to make sure the lesson sticks. That's right, friends, the former Navy SEAL, Garrett Unkelbach, pool comp veteran who decided that drowning 6 times wasn't enough.
No, I'm sorry, Nick, you're mistaken. There's only 2 ways to do things.
Oh, yeah, what's that?
The right way and again.
Ooh, I've never heard that before. I'm gonna have to go ahead and write that one down. Did you make that up, G?
No, that's literally my Bellator construction company motto that comes from the SEAL teams.
I know, dude. I was saying that for the benefit of the listeners, but I'm glad to see that you're nice and froggy this morning. I say this morning because for those of you out there that want to start a podcast, because it'll be so much fun, Garrett and I started our process at 5 a.m. on Sunday morning today to make sure that we get this released to y'all.
I tell people all the time that when they want to start a podcast, I'm like, you should talk to Nick. Nick will put a lot of the pieces together for you. You know, you're the reason this podcast exists in the first place. I wanted to do one, but I didn't want to do one because I didn't want to do all of the other stuff.
Yeah, and you don't do all the other stuff. So hey, you won.
Still winning.
Yeah, well done.
It's going great.
It's going great.
But I tell people all the time they should talk to you. And I know you're going to tell them a lot of great things, but the one thing you're going to tell all of them is you got to just keep posting over and over.
And I'm going to say, if you want to have a
we were starting from a good place. Like I had somewhat of an audience. Right. I have the credibility of being a Navy SEAL, and we put our first episode out there, and you know what was it, like 100 listens, I think.
Yeah,
which is great for a lot of people's first episode.
Yeah.
But even for us, we weren't like, over and like, yeah, let's keep going. Like everyone's going to love us. No, we just said, well, I guess we just have to keep going. It's going to take a while.
It is. Yeah. And it does. And it's I could go in a long way about that, but that's actually exactly what we're talking about today. We're talking about, I think, what is one of the greatest temptations for all people, regardless of whether you're male or female, and that is the temptation to take shortcuts.
Yeah. It's
literally for everybody. We all have that temptation. That's what I say to people. I'm like, look, if you want to get a following quickly, if that's what you're after, go start a YouTube channel. Become like an influencer on Instagram. There's tons of people that sell hacks of how to make viral videos and all that sort of stuff. Like, so that's why I would tell people about podcasting, because it just takes a lot of consistent effort and growth and learning to grow a podcast audience. It's not the kind of thing that you can just kind of go like, oh, I went viral and blew up. Like that doesn't happen.
Not in podcast.
No, not in podcasting. Like I think the closest thing I've seen is Sean Ryan has 225 episodes, and he just announced that he had 1 billion views on YouTube, which is incredible. Now he had paid a slightly different price to become a podcaster, since that he went through SEAL training and also CIA.
He also had a bigger YouTube channel when he started.
Right, but you get my point. When you're in the CIA and you're a SEAL, you obviously have a few more connections and a few more stories that make you slightly more interesting than the common person.
No, for sure. Sean did a great job of using his network and doing the proper stair-stepping of guests.
Yeah.
Continuing to go up and up, doing better and better storytelling. His media quality went up every single time. So.
Yeah. It's amazing. Anyways, we could go on and on about that. But the point for everybody out there is we all have these temptations for shortcuts. We're going to get into what that temptation boils down to, and really show the point of this episode is to highlight a lot of areas where you, me, we're all probably taking shortcuts, and we need to be aware of them, because what these shortcuts will do is they'll kill your fruitfulness and they'll keep you from God's plan for you, because God's plan is not one of shortcuts.
Let's talk about what a shortcut is for just a second.
Okay.
Let me talk about what it isn't.
Okay.
There's a common saying from the SEAL teams. It's very misunderstood. And that's,
I know where you're going.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah.
Okay. And so a lot of people think like, what is that? Are the SEALs just a bunch of like, void of ethics people? No. Prior to some conception, no. We're not void of ethics. That's not what it's about. The point of if you're not cheating, you're not trying is that there's always these rules and paths that people feel like you have to go down to do something. And the whole point of that saying, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, is like be willing to think outside the box.
Right.
Right. That doesn't mean like you sabotage your character or, well, I'm just going to tell my boss I said I did it, even though I didn't do it because
I'm trying.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. The point is, if you're not trying to think outside the box, if you're not looking at very difficult problems with the thought process of, if I had to, what would it take?
Yeah.
Right, if you're not bringing that thought process to it, then you're not actually trying. That's what that statement means. And so, I'm 100,000% in support of that. You should always be looking at what your opportunities are, what your business is, what the missions in front of you are, and saying like, are we doing this the dumb way?
Right.
Right? Is there actually a better answer? Look for those things, but that's not what a shortcut is.
No, for sure. Well, and one of the places where we see if you're not cheating, you're not trying, taking the wrong way is in the health and fitness industry.
Yeah.
So take a wild guess, G. What do you think the valuation is of just health and fitness clubs in America?
Oh gosh. Value of health and fitness clubs.
Just health and fitness clubs.
So we're just talking about, well, not 24-hour fitness, but
yeah, well, all those places,
yeah,
those types of
Lifetime,
gyms.
all those.
Yeah.
Okay, total valuation of all of those gyms.
Yeah.
75 billion.
Okay, the economic impact is weighted around 22.4 billion annually. So I probably asked you the question wrong. Okay, so health, that's just the clubs that generate $22.4 billion annually in the U.S. alone. Wellness and fitness products then generate an additional $28.5 billion in the year 2023. Okay, so this is, keep in mind, that's not I asked you the wrong question. I said, what are they worth? You're probably it's probably higher than what you said based on that revenue. Yep. But so that tells you that those are making $50 billion a year in the U.S. is spent on health and fitness. And what was the stat that you shared with me that you heard Chris Willicks share recently, G, about the average body fat percentage of a male and female in America?
This is a literally disgusting statistic. The average American is now fatter than the average pig. The average pig is between 15 and 25% body fat. The average male body fat is now over 28%, and the average female body fat is now over 40%.
So capture that. We're going to go ahead and have to cut ourselves short because I think we could go on a long diatribe about that. But this is something that it's not like we don't know. This is not a blind spot of like, man, I just didn't know that being fat was unhealthy, or I couldn't see myself getting fatter. Like, you can lie to yourself to a certain...
There's some people who believe that, but if you listen to this podcast, that's probably not
you can lie to yourself to a certain degree, but think about this. So the health and fitness industry, and by the way, all projections are that the health and fitness industry is going to continue to grow and boom.
It's not getting smaller.
Right. So it's growing, aka people are spending more money to try and buy whatever they think is going to get them healthy, and we're getting in worse shape. So you tell me where the disconnect is there. And I'm going to go ahead and say that I think it's because a lot of people are looking for shortcuts rather than actually changing their lifestyle and changing the way they think about health and fitness and
yeah, it's the disconnection between diet and lifestyle.
Right. Exactly. So I'll pay you $1,000 if you can show me how to lose this in 30 days. But what I won't do is just commit to eating healthy for a lifetime.
There's a lot of people that their diet approach is the same as, like, just talking about the pigs here for a second, talking about a pig in a pigsty trying to stay clean.
Right.
Right, you're standing up on a pedestal and you've done like a million delicate procedures to try and, like, this is a different analogy, but I remember trying to do like over the beach exercises, right? And you come out wet.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you, like, as you come over the beach, you get covered in sand. And then we would do these change out drills, because this is like a SEAL insert platform, right? We'll swim in over the beach,
right,
change from like wet clothes into dry clothes, and then, keep carrying on with our mission. And so you're doing this. You, as a surfer, you understand some of this. Trying to change out of a wet wetsuit into dry clothes.
Yes.
Now do it at night, quietly, like half laying down, because you can't like be up making a big profile.
Oh, yeah.
And you're still in like what is called the hinterland, the transition from like the beach to like normal ground. So there's still sand on the ground. So I put my little tarp down. I'm like laying on this thing, trying to not get sand on the tarp, trying to not get a bunch of sand all over me. So I could just, go crazy and just roll around in the sand, change into my dry clothes and be miserable. But you're trying to make this switch into clean clothes and not get covered in sand. I'm using this as an example of like, this is what a lot of people's diet and a terrible lifestyle looks like.
Right.
It's this extremely elaborate procedure, which is, or like in my house, trying to with my girls, trying to keep like a clean shirt with covered in, when my middle is, hands are always dirty, when Grace is always using markers and glitter and whatever. Again, an example of people trying to keep a diet that's productive in a lifestyle surrounded by things taking you in the wrong direction.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. And so if you're sitting out there and you're in great shape and you're going like, oh yeah, all these people, buckle up, because I promise you there's places where you're taking shortcuts. If you're the person that you're like, yeah, I probably do fall in that fat percentage higher or wherever you may be, like, understand you need to stop thinking like, how quickly can I fix this, and instead think of like, how do I make a change in my thinking so that for the rest of my life I can live this way and be healthy. It's a very big shift. And we see this.
That's exactly what the diet versus lifestyle shift is supposed to be. Like,
Right.
instead of saying like, what does my diet sheet say? This is a lot of people there's coaches who teach this, and really just looking at every decision in your life and saying, what would a fit person do?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And, it's not like, oh, I got to force myself to go get steps. Like, no, just actually go, like, become someone who enjoys walking.
Right. Well, yeah. And that there's a lot of practical ways that we could go into that. But I think that to me is a really easy to understand area where we go, man, okay, we're clearly the money is being spent. Clearly the desire is there, but the process is wrong. And so as a result, we are getting in worse shape. And we see this over and over and over again where people want to have something, but they don't want to do what it takes to get there. And we don't always realize it. I mean, you alerted me to who's our Don, what's his name?
Don Shipley.
Don Shipley. You alerted me to Don Shipley, who has a YouTube channel where he goes and like calls
He's
out.
a former Master Chief Navy SEAL who, when he got out of the Navy, he made it his job to call out all the pretenders, the phonies.
Yeah, because you said there's more people that claim to be Navy SEALs.
Don has said there's around 20,000 people who claim to be Navy SEAls, where in reality there's about 5,000 living and dead.
Which is, so the videos, I've watched them, it's amazing. He goes around with these guys like at bars that have like trident tattoos and have all the stories, and he just starts calling them out like very, very bluntly. And was it called Stolen Valor? Is that, yeah it's Stolen Valor. And
that's not just a Navy SEAL thing, that's just a military thing, Stolen Valor.
But it's amazing to me that there's guys, like, I think personally I'd be so embarrassed if I ever made any claim. Like, I'm not any tougher because I know you as well as I do. Like, it's just like,
Sure.
I don't get to claim any kind of like cool guy stuff. I'm just your friend, and I know a lot more about the SEALs than other people. But guess what? I'm no more a Navy SEAL than anybody else who's never been on the grinder.
Yeah.
Like, I just know more, and like, I think it would be embarrassing to walk around and be like, oh yeah, let me tell you how it was in the teams. Like, dude, I don't know what it was like in the teams. You know what I mean? But this is what these guys are doing. He calls them out. So maybe we sit there and we go, oh man, that's crazy. But once again, we are all in that boat. And where does it start, G? Unfortunately, we've inherited a pattern of shortcuts that we got. It's our sinful nature. It is literally like Adam and Eve. It's amazing to me because God said, don't eat of the fruit of the garden, because when you do, surely you'll die. Now, we know that they ate of the garden and they didn't die instantly. What's so interesting?
So what did die?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So what did die? It was their ability to know God truly in spirit. At that point, they became separated from Him, and then, because it's interesting, because He says to them later,
they could walk with Him previously. They couldn't after that.
Right, and because He even says we better put a flaming sword around the garden, because otherwise they can go eat from that tree of life and live forever. It's like, wait a minute, and that's really been confounding to me. But when you realize that it was spirit that died, that's when it starts to make a lot more sense. And then, of course, then He cuts off the tree of life, and then now we have this great thing called time. Yeah. And we're all going to die, and we know it. And that limitation, the greatest limitation that we've never figured out as humanity of time, is the temptation for us to always cut. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to fast forward through time so that we can get something that we want. And the problem with that is that if you're the person that you don't want the process, you want the vision, but you don't want the price. You want the end result, but you don't want to travel the road to get there. And so you're always going like, hey, how can I get there as fast as possible?
Instagram is full of we'll make you an author in 30 days. We'll make you a coach in 30 days. Yep. Here's how to make $1 million in 6 months.
Yep.
Do this and you can quit your job in 40 days. That stuff is all so foolish, right? Because you don't accomplish you maybe even if you did, say you accomplish a specific task, everything lines up for you, or you get lucky, or you do all of the different pieces. You haven't changed that much in that amount of time. And you've got to zoom out and look at where you're really going. I was talking to Nick, and as we were setting up this podcast, like, man, really what this podcast is about is we want to help people choose the right path.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like, of your life, coaching, which Nick and I both do some of. Coaching is like, hey, I'll run next to you, right? I'll critique your form along the way. But so much of this podcast is we just want to make sure you, like, the best thing I can do for you, I can't teach you to dodge bullets. I can't necessarily make you run faster, but I can say, like, go down this road and just go as hard as you can.
Right.
And so much of if you'll zoom out, a lot of what we're talking about, fake versus authentic, it's people taking the short-term path. Like, oh, well, this seems like it would be really great in the short term, but authenticity and really choosing the real in the long term is the only one that produces any actual fruit.
Yeah. And because people forget that the purpose of process is to prepare you so that when you get to the vision, you can sustain it. Because there's a great proverb that says an inheritance gained too early is a curse.
Yeah.
Right. And this was an interesting stat, G. 70% of lottery winners go broke within 3 to 5 years.
That's terrible.
Like, it's not like it happens eventually. 3 to 5 years means like I had 12 Lamborghinis because that's fun. I wanted to have a different color for, every way I felt. It's a wild stat. But what does that tell you? Because what happens whenever you get the lottery? You didn't become like, if you've had to work really, really hard to make millions of dollars and somebody goes like, oh, hey, let's just splash out. You're not thinking
you become someone different.
Right. That would be fun. No, actually, I know what I had to do to get this.
It's a whole nother thing when someone who can't spell financial management, receives $100 million.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, the great example of this is my kids. They want to spend my money every which way they can. And they're kids, and it's sweet, and I get it. Yeah. But that's because they've not had to pay the price to actually understand what it takes to earn the money in the first place. And so understand that that's all of us, man. We all want the vision and not the price. The lottery winners is an extreme example of what happens when you forego the process. Understand this. If you're in a difficult time, if you're in a place where things aren't making sense, if you're doing the right things and you're not seeing the results, if you feel like you've been at it for so long and you're starting to ask the question, how much longer, you are right where God wants you to be. And I will share this for us as a podcast. Garrett and I have great plans and dreams for this podcast, not because we want to be famous, but because we want to make an impact on the earth. We firmly believe that God is doing something in this country and in this world in men's hearts. You can see it on people who don't know God, and you can see it heavily in people who know God. God is putting in men the desire to rise up and be strong and be who he's made them to be again. And we believe that we're here to help impact that.
We get to play a part.
We get to play a part.
And we continually make choices that go in that direction versus going maybe some potential short-term successful direction.
Right, exactly right. And I had this part, like I take everything that we do to God in prayer, man. I'm constantly praying over everything I do, whether it's my family or any person that God's entrusted with. And I remember I had this God spoke to me so clearly. I was in the sauna praying, where I seem to have great times of prayer. And God brought this scripture to my mind. He said, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, and he turns it wherever he will. Because I was praying for growth, for supernatural growth for the podcast. And you may go like, well, that's a weird scripture to hear, but what does that mean? It means that if God wanted to turn something in our favor so that you and I could instantly become, Joe Rogan's success, he's God. He could do it, but guess what? He hasn't. So what that means is that you and I are right where we're supposed to be.
We just need to keep going through our process. We need to continue to grow. We need to get better.
And I say that because I want that to be an encouragement for anybody. Whatever your, man, I would really like to see this, or I really think this is what I'm supposed to do is, wherever you're at, you're there for a reason, because what you don't know is that you're becoming the kind of person that whenever this dream in your heart or this vision that God's given to you comes to fruition, you'll be the type of person that can actually sustain it and fulfill it the way that God intended.
This was something that, and we'll come back to this here in a minute, but this is something that I kind of went through. You and I have talked about this, and something that I went through in really my life and social media, because you talked to me back in the beginning when I didn't like social media.
Yeah.
But even outside of that thought of me just being frustrated at what social media was, of course, like any person who wants to be a leader and wants to be successful like I do, I would like people to listen to me.
Yeah.
But what I cared more for was the way that I've put it is spend your time developing a message, not developing an audience.
Yeah.
Because that's what most people in social media or in the world of credibility try to do, is they just try to spend all their time develop. How do I get more people to listen to me? The way to do that is not better marketing.
Right.
The way you get more people to listen to you is that you have a better message. And what that actually forces you to do is continue to grow and develop the right way. It's like you may think your message is good, but no one's listening to you. Well, if you have the right heart and attitude about that, you'll say, you know what? Maybe my message isn't as good as I thought it was. Let me continue to work on this. Let me make it better and better until your message becomes so good that it's undeniable that you would have an audience.
Yeah.
that's the right way to be. Otherwise, you're going to end up pursuing the wrong things and you won't develop the fruit you're supposed to.
Yeah, that's so good, G. I mean, you said something once that I've repeated on this podcast, and it's worth repeating again. You said the things that are going to take you off track is going to be you're a lot more likely to get distracted by a tailwind, like, oh, we could just go faster in a different direction,
Right.
rather than by a disaster. And I remember when I heard that, I was like, man, that's so true. It's like you can either blow everything, like you don't have to have everything blow up. Somebody can just be like, oh, you could do this so much faster if you just went this way.
Yeah, no, I've seen many men back on the journey after 10 years of one of those.
Yeah, tailwinds, man. So we talked about the pattern that we inherited from Adam and Eve, and we talked about how you need to pay the price as part of the process. Well, you pointed this out, and I thought it was so true. People are often asking the wrong question when it comes to price paying. And here's the common question, and I'm putting my hand up because I've asked this question a lot. It's price led. It's like, hey, what's the what's the lowest price I could get this for?
It's, if you shop that way, right? If you shop that way with your health, right? What's the cheapest vitamins I could get? Well, you'll find them.
Yeah.
If you shop that way with your cars, right? What's the cheapest car I could get? Okay, you'll find it, but it may not be exactly what you want.
Right.
And especially with the purpose of your life and the path that you walk, if you shop by the price, man, how hard is that one really going to be?
Yeah.
Right. If you shop by that, you will end up making poor selections.
Right.
Now, I am a 100% firm believer of Warren Buffett's number one rule of money: don't waste money. Right. Don't waste money does not mean don't spend money. Right. Don't waste time does not mean don't spend time. It means spend it appropriately. Right. And I'm also saying you should not overpay, right? I don't want anybody to overpay for their purpose, but I can also tell you that your purpose is way more expensive than you thought it was going to be.
Right.
The path that God has for you, the destiny he has before you, it's a massive price. Mm-hmm. And so if you're shopping by the price, you will choose poorly. If you shop for vehicles by the lowest price, you will get a poor quality vehicle. And if you select for the destiny of your life by shopping for the lowest price, you will select for a very poor destiny that you will end up with regret on. And so really the thought process behind all of this is, let's ask the right question about the journey that we're supposed to be on, because a lot of people shop this way in their life. They shop price led, and you need to shop for your life values led, quality led. What is the fruit that I want to have most? And then say, I'm willing to pay whatever the price.
Yeah. And that was the question you said. The right question to ask is, how do I chase the right things? Because when you select the right things, you don't get to choose the price that comes with it. Like, oh, you want to have a great marriage? You want to follow after God? Like, you don't get to determine the price for those things. Like, God has set certain things up that's like, these are good and holy, and you will do things a certain way.
The only way that you can choose a good path is that you choose a path that you know you'll stay on, is if you'll choose a path that you can say, I'm willing to pay. I don't even know if I can actually do this, but I would give all that I have for this and be willing to pay any price to accomplish this. Mm. You have to choose a path that you can feel that way about. Otherwise, you're going to choose a path where you're estimating two things that you can't fully estimate and hoping you're right about both of them. Mm. And that would be, you're trying to estimate what is the cost of this path, like how hard is the path going to be, and then how tough and capable am I?
Right.
You can't estimate either of those things with certainty. Mm. So you're hoping that you got two estimates right when you try to choose a path. What's the biggest hard that I'm willing to go through based upon my estimate of how hard I'll work for a thing that I wouldn't give everything for, but I might give something for.
Right.
It's a bad math. Like, if you're trying to estimate something, that's a bad math equation. Now, a good equation is, this is the path that I would pay every price for. I would give all that I have to walk down this path. God willing, I hope I'm going to have enough.
Yeah. What you just said, man, I think that's the most common way of thinking, is that we estimate how tough we are. We estimate the price, and we just assume we're right on both. And when it blows up, we're like, man.
Because what happens is, if you go down that path, as soon as it's harder than you thought, you quit.
That's exactly right.
Because, I didn't think it would be this bad. Or, maybe I'm not as good at this as I thought I would be. And they turn into short-circuiting your growth. Right. For me, choosing a path where it said I would do whatever it takes for this, every time I've fallen short, it turned into my growth.
Right. Well, and I love that you said that, but I also think you're being so rational in your Garrett Unkelbach way because no, I'm being serious. Because people that then quit on those things, they don't say like, oh, I guess I wasn't as tough as I thought, or I guess it was harder than I thought. What they say is like, oh, that's ridiculous. Like I just decided that actually, you know, really, if I do that, then I would have to give up time with my kids, or they come up with some reason of why they're still right about making their choice to quit. And that's all of us. Like, you don't quit. When I was going to quit at the 100-miler, I wasn't sitting there saying like, you know what, I'm just too weak, and actually I'm in a bad moment and I'm pouting.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been me being really rational. What I said was, I don't care about the 100-miler. And you want to know why that worked? Because a big part of that was true. Like, I don't list it on my list of accomplishments in life. Like, I'm proud that we did that, and I actually think it's a great thing. But some people, like, if they finished a 100-miler, they would put it in their bio on their Instagram. And if that's you, I'm not knocking you. I just personally don't value that what we did in like my great things that I've accomplished in my life.
You know what you would like to put in your bio?
What's that?
Man who does what he says.
100%. Yeah, and I put a lot more value on that. Like, and you know who tells me the most of what if I do what I say is my wife.
Yeah.
Because she sees me all the time. I'm not going to put that in my bio. Like, my wife trusts me 100%.
It's hard to put that in your bio if you right? If you don't finish the 100-miler.
Right. But you understand, I'm sharing my own, and I think that's all of us. I'm not like, once again, I'm not throwing stones from my glass house, but I think we don't go like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm going to go ahead and break my word. We come up with a reason in the moment that we then repeat to ourselves until we believe it enough that we can move on without learning the lesson. And so we're going to get into the reason I'm saying that, and if you feel like we're being harsh, I'm okay with that. We're going to highlight some shortcuts that we all take where we choose the fake over the authentic, and we have these authentic God-given desires that we fulfill.
You do it because you're shopping by the price.
100%. And that's exactly as you're shopping by the price. And what it all boils down to is we want certainty over trust. That, like, when it comes down to it, we have this transactional relationship with I mean, in the Bible, they'd be false gods, is what they would be. Like, when you look at the false gods, Baal was a false god of weather. And it was like, if we will cut ourselves and offer this much, then we'll get the rain, which means we'll get our crops. Great. And then there was like Asherah, who was like the goddess of sex, I think. And it was like, if we do certain things, then we'll have fertility, because that was viewed as a sign of prosperity. And so it was this transactional relationship of like, I will do this in order to get that. And what did it give you? It gave you certainty, because you also had this pole, like you pointed out. You had this actual thing you could touch and feel with your hand. And then you have this great and amazing God who says, hey, follow after me, walk with me, in all your ways seek me, and I'm going to bless you everywhere you go. Well, yeah, but how do I know? Well, you're going to take my word at it. Well, wait, but I'm going to be with you. Wait.
And if you bail out for that certainty, you're not going to actually get what you want, right? And that, again, that comes back to the shopping by the price.
Yeah.
I think that's people who struggle with mindset mastery, right? And I don't just mean like our financial price. It's $200 a month, which is more than many coaching programs out there. But also that it's hard, right? Like, the sell is if you'll go through all the content and turn up on all these calls for the next year, you'll think differently.
100%.
Right? Most of the programs out there are like, oh, 30-day free program will, give you the mindset of success. No, you won't.
Right.
You won't.
Yeah.
You like the price of free in 30 days, but you're not going to get that.
Right.
Right? Versus, hey, you know what? If you actually go through mindset mastery, I promise you'll think differently. Read some of our testimonials. But this is where people shop by the price.
Right. And you have to actually do the work. How do we know? Well, guess what? Every work we gave to you is stuff that we've done.
This was Nick and I put it together and said, man, what's the fastest we think we could actually get someone there? A year.
Right.
We can get you there in a year. Yeah. Right? Someone telling you they can change your mindset in 30 days. Maybe they can make you feel better in 30 days. You can go to a conference and get motivated.
For sure.
For me to teach you to like install a new operating system in your brain, that's not 30 days.
No, for sure. All right, so let's get to some of these fake versus authentic, and we'll talk about the shortcuts, because we all do these. Some of these are obvious, and some of these, I will tell you, are things that you're probably not even aware of, but that are there for all of us. So the most obvious one, man, is porn for intimacy.
Yep.
We have a God-given desire for intimacy, like that we would need each other. If you're married and you have a good active sex life with your spouse, you know the deep intimacy that you share with your spouse expressed through sex, it's incredible. And what porn will do, as we all know, it'll give you like a semblance of that. You'll get the same physiological reaction, but man, you just feel hollow. And so what happens? well, this time I looked at this and now I just need to look at it a little bit more. And actually, I used to like this, but now I just need to be a little bit more extreme. And that's how you end up with these people. I mean, when we had Josh Broom on, that was the story of the porn industry, is like, hey, just do this little bit. Oh, and now we're going to have you do that little bit. And before you know it, you're 17 miles down the road doing disgusting things that you swore you'd never do. And it all started because you were trying to, in the case of people who are watching it, you're just trying to fulfill something that you have a need for.
And regardless of what your relationship with your spouse is like, if you go down the road of porn, some of it is shopping by the price.
Yeah.
And the price being, you know what? It's really easy to look at porn on your phone.
For sure.
It's really easy to do that. Right? It's exactly when you want, and it is the lowest bar to what is on the other side of that for people. And I'll beat around the bush there as much as I can on saying what that is.
Right.
If you go down that road, you're choosing the cheapest price. Even if you have a great relationship with your spouse, it's still a lot more effort. Than looking at porn.
Yeah.
Right. And so this comes back to what's the easiest way for me to get what I want?
Right.
If you navigate that way, you will end up in all the wrong places.
Right.
Go buy the cheapest cruise you can find on the internet.
Yeah.
Right. Go take the budget vacation. See if it looks like the pictures when you get there.
Yeah, I mean, because remember, the correct question to ask is, how do I choose the right things? I'm just going to be blunt. If you just want to get off, dude, you can go to any bar in America, and if you get drunk enough with somebody else who's drunk enough, you can probably solve that. Or like you said, you can just you can just watch porn, because that's all you want. If you learn how to choose the right thing, which is, I want to have an intimate, deep, fulfilling relationship. Oh, buddy, you selected the right thing, but guess what? The price is a lot harder. It means that, like, as my wife once said to me, she was quoting one of our pastors, is making love starts in the morning. Oh, so you mean I got to wake up and I'm loving my wife the second we wake up, when there's no chance of anything like that? Yeah. You mean I'm going to serve her all day? 100%. I'm going to make sure that she has what she needs, and that I'm attentive and I care, and what she values is what I value. Yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be disciplined and not choose the stuff that I want, or live my life based on my own preferences. Yes, correct. Why? Because I've chosen the right thing. I want to have a great marriage. And gee, here I am 20 plus years in. It hasn't always been great, but I can tell you it is so satisfying. I don't regret any price I've paid.
And you got to come back and look at it, right? Okay, we're not going to shop by price. What's the thing that's worth the most?
Yes.
What do I really want? Yeah. Then be willing to pay that price.
Yeah, so good. Another place where we do it. So I put this as explanation over awe. And what I mean by that is, we serve God, and this is one of my favorite scriptures. It's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, which is, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he'll direct your paths. And that first part of lean not on your own understanding is where we all take that shortcut, because isn't it so much easier to just be like, yeah, well, this is why God did that. And actually, God lives outside of time. And so, like, actually, if you just kind of say this forgiveness prayer, then everything will be good. And then what happens is, you go to heaven, you'll have a mansion, you're going to be able to live there, and then there's going to be 7 years of this. And because I know everything, right? Because now I've got explanation for everything. Whereas to say, like, I don't know, but I know the one who does, that's hard. Like, hey, so how's this going to work out? I have no idea. Well, why are you tithing? Why are you living your life this sacrificial way? Because that's what God said, and I trust him. Well, I don't know about that, man. It would be a lot easier if you could just be like, hey, you're putting jewels in your crown, and, like, you're storing up treasure in heaven. And so that's, I have an exact certainty. I know how the transaction works. And so to get to this place where you can say, you know what, I don't know, but I'm going to be obedient anyways, is truly living in a life of awe. It requires reverence. It requires what we call fear of the Lord. And it's a lot easier to be able to go in and give your exact 4 reasons and have everything buttoned up so that you can feel safe and secure. And we all do this.
It's the desire for certainty.
100%.
Like, hey, I want to fully understand and know God out of the what you're seeking. Well, if I know it all, then I can know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And what really awe of God is that God's a great God. God is powerful and control of all. He's sovereign, and he loves me, and the rest is up to him.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's faith.
Yeah.
That's true faith. And while we're on that, another shortcut that we take is, a lot of us will take preaching rather than actually knowing God.
For sure.
Or, like, if you're listening to this podcast and instead of reading the Bible, please stop listening to us and go read your Bible. Like, we're here to draw
then
people.
Come back.
Yeah, then come back. We're here to, no, but honestly, we're here to draw, like, we want people to know God. The best thing we could ever do, when Garrett said we can get you running hard and fast down the right path is that you would seek God with all your heart.
Yep.
If I could have my life be like, that was a guy that made other people want to know the God he did, that would be the greatest epitaph I think I could ever have on my funeral, or at my headstone, I would say. But so often what we have is I want to watch a reel about some Christian guy. I want to listen to this preacher because, man, I really like him. I want to read this book. All those things are good, but that's like saying I'm just going to live a life of, I'm just going to eat supplements. I'm going to have protein drinks and creatine all the time. And man, I don't ever want to have like breakfast, lunch, or dinner or eat a healthy meal. I just want to have the supplements. You're missing out because the process of getting to know God, of pressing into his presence, requires that you believe that he is and that he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek him, like it says in Scripture.
It is kind of to me, like it's the beginning. It's not like you're wrong if you just want to listen to sermons. You're just early.
Correct.
Right? This is like when I take people to the range for the first time. Like if you've never shot a pistol before, I'll get you to hit a bullseye at 25 yards with a pistol. You'll feel really good about it. You can't do it without me there.
Right.
Right. I can help you accomplish it. But when you come back to the range next week by yourself and I'm not there with you, you're like, what happened?
Right.
Right. Like I can't do that anymore. And so there's a process that we've all got to go through of growth and maturity. And if you're just interested in the sermons, that just means you haven't really taken that next step of like, man, I need to begin to understand these things for myself. Because the finishing the path of that pistol journey is you really know how to shoot pistol when you can teach people how to shoot pistol.
Right.
Not when you've done it once, not when you can do it a little bit by yourself, not when you're starting to really understand it, but when you understand it so well that you can share it with other people.
Yeah.
And if you are at where a lot of people are at in their Christian journey is like, I listen to this message, you should listen to it too.
Yeah.
And that's not a terrible thing,
No.
but it's not the best thing either.
Correct.
Right? The best thing is that you would listen to a message and you say, man, I love that. I'm going to read that for myself. And when you begin to receive the word, when you read the word and you let the Lord speak to you, that's where you begin to have a message yourself. That's out of your own testimony and out of your own life. Like, this is what God has done in me. This is the way that God's changed me. This is what I've heard from the Lord. And you can share with people in a very different way.
Yeah, because it's easy. Pastors are really good at speaking, and they can keep your attention.
As a skill set.
Yeah,
right?
as a skill set. And so, like, you have this, what do people say that don't want to read the Bible? It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it. Well, that's part of the process of you getting to know God, is that from a place of faith and believing that it's God's word, you seek him the way
It's the same as people who don't exercise are like, well, I don't go to the gym because I don't know what to do.
Right.
Well, how often do you go to the gym? I don't.
Just start.
Yeah.
Just at that point, anything you do is better than nothing.
I don't like to read. I'm not good at reading. How often do you read? I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I hope you hear that. And like, once again, it's like, man, well, I like this pastor. This makes sense to me. This speaks to me a lot more. These are all good reasons in the moment, but that is not the process that you're called to. It's not the authenticity of where you've experienced the presence of God because you've sought him so actively that you truly have a relationship with God. We've talked about this before, G. I would hope, and I've had some things happen recently where you kind of get not brought to your knees, but you get punched in the face out of the blue.
Yep.
And what happens whenever you get punched in the face out of the blue is you find out what you really believe. And what I never have done is been like, oh, man.
It's a test of your preparation.
Right. I never go like, oh, man, this pastor said this thing one time that I'm really going to lean on.
Let me go pull up that Instagram reel I sent.
Right. No, I never do. What I come back to is I go, man, I've spent some time in the presence of God, and I don't understand this, but I know that God's good.
Right.
And it's the certainty of who he is, not because of any one scripture I read or because of something I heard on the internet or on a great message, but because I've truly experienced the presence of God and sat with him and read his word and had God teach me and show me who he is. That's when you start to go like, man, my faith, I don't want to say it's unshakable because I feel, almost a little bit like I don't want to be tested and out, but you know what I mean? Like it's like you can't deny it. There's things that I've done and seen and experienced and known that I could never say that was unreal. I would have to say I've chosen not to go that way anymore.
Right.
And I'm not going to do that. Next thing up, and we're going to keep going through these, is career for identity. Now, here's an interesting one. I think what a lot of people are drawn to about UG is you have a uncommon identity. I always tell people, like, there's certain things you should try and emulate about Garrett. There's other things that you shouldn't. You were born into a certain way. Like God's wired you to be the type of person that you're in command. Like, you push back on things. And if anyone listens to your story, they know that you had a very small circle of people that poured into you, and you had the wherewithal, this is where it's really unique, at a young age, to be able to discern between who you should listen to and who you shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And you held very strongly to the people that you should, which was your unbelievable parents, your Uncle Keith at that time, who's now Pastor Keith, and a few other people that poured into you. That's not common. What most people are experiencing is they get to this point in their life where they've been doing all these things, they've been chasing everything, and they go, I don't know who I am. because it's like in high school, I was like the funny guy. In college, I was the party guy. Then I was like, career hard charger. Then I was fat, so I became fitness guy. And now I'm still feeling empty. I don't know who I am. Well, that's because you're trying to chase things that you do, like your career, and say that's who you are. Well, the problem is what if you get fired?
Yep.
Or, what if you start sucking at that? Does that mean that you don't have a sense of identity? For a lot of people, yes, it does.
Everybody wants a sense of identity. You want to know who you are. The hard part, it's like building a foundation for a home, right? You and I could go out in the woods and cut down some trees and throw them on the ground real quick, and we can stand up a little hut overnight. Now, if you want to build a strong home, like something that's going to last for 100 or hundreds of years, the level of foundation prep that it takes to do that takes a long time.
Right.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot more expensive. So don't shop by the price. But in this one specifically, career versus identity, well, a career that's a foundation that's like, well, I can go get a job tomorrow, and that's my identity now, right? I can just go apply for a job, and now I have the job title, and this is who I am.
Right.
That's the same as like you and I go out in the woods, we chop down some trees, throw them on the ground, like, hey, quickly, we have a foundation now. If you want to build an identity that is going to last for a long time, that very thick and solid foundation is understanding what it is that you believe.
Right.
And the way that we talk about beliefs, things that you know are true but can't prove. That's the things that you're going to hold on to the most. You've got to go through a lot of work to really wrestle with those. Because when you talk to people who they're struggling and I don't know who I am right now, I don't know what my identity is, they're saying this as well. Like, I'm not sure what I believe.
Right.
It's exactly what you're saying when you say, I don't know who I am and I'm not sure what I believe. If you know what you believe, you know who you are.
Yeah.
Right? You know where you stand in the world. You know where you stand in the universe. You know what your role is when you know what you believe. And that's the type of foundation that, when you build a big house, you don't really see the foundation underneath. You just feel it.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I mean, and we could go long on identity. We have another podcast, but vision, values, and beliefs.
Right.
The
beliefs is the biggest piece.
Yeah. The convergence of those three things is what forms a rock solid identity. And I remember you were the first person to break it down. I actually spent a lot of time thinking about that still, because I would put myself in the latter category that I didn't have like somebody instilling a super strong sense of identity in me growing up. So I've had to do a lot of work on my own identity and unpack a lot of my own experiences in life and get to a place where I have very clear values and understanding of beliefs and also develop a vision. It's what we do in Mindset Mastery with Ideal You. Like, that's to start to develop the vision for who you're becoming, who God made you to be, and then understanding what you value based on the beliefs. That's not something that we can go like, here's 30 minutes, now you have an identity. Like, it doesn't work that way. You have to go continue to unpack that stuff because it shows up in so many ways. But identity, I feel like the more I go on, and you can look at identity politics, you can look at what's big in our society, I feel like people bump into identity all the time and they don't know it. They know that they're lacking purpose and it eats at them. They may know that they're terrible at discipline because they can point to it, but they don't realize how often they're bumping into a lack of identity and it's holding them back. And so what they'll do is they'll chase it. And career, even if it's not short term, even if it's like, well, I worked 10 years, it's still a shortcut. And unfortunately, because it's a shortcut, it's not real.
It wasn't a good enough foundation.
That's exactly it. You're not choosing the right things.
Don't shop by the price.
Right. All right, G. Well, this one was yours, so I want you to take this because I think it's fame is the fake thing and credibility is the authentic thing.
A lot of people, this is what they're after. Well, let me ask you a question as we go into this.
All right.
Why would someone want fame or credibility? What would you want either of them for? What are you going to do with them?
Well, I think that if you want fame, I think partially you want to feel good about yourself. I think it's partially chasing some identity.
Okay, that's certainly a benefit.
Yeah.
Why else would people
influence? You want influence.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
You want to be able to influence. That's good. Right. Influence or power, some means of having a substantial impact on the world.
For sure. Yeah, right? It could be a good thing.
And attention is powerful. Okay, so here's why you would want either of these things, fame or credibility. Both of them you'd want for the same reason, to be able to influence. Now, what you see this in the celebrity world all the time. You see these people who have all of the fame, and then they find they don't actually have the influence that they thought they did.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can make some of the biggest movies in the world, sell the most records in the world, but you start talking about politics and no one cares what you have to say. Mm-hmm. Right? If any of these famous actors, musicians wrote a book on family or wrote a book on leadership, who wants to hear it?
Yeah,
Nobody does. They don't have any credibility in that area.
Yeah.
And so fame is actually selling yourself short. credibility gets built over a long period of time. People want the fame of being a Navy SEAL. You could go say that,
Right.
and then that'll turn around and bite you in the butt. The credibility comes from like, it's not that it's not having the title of being a Navy SEAL that's worth anything. It's who I became in the process of going through that and
Right.
what that now allows me to do. And so I've kind of taken this approach in everything in my life. I feel like I'm supposed to be very influential to have a great impact. At some point in my life, the season's not right now, but at some point in my life, I believe I'll write a lot of great books and all kinds of those things. But my thought process has not been, how do I build more of an audience?
Right.
Now, how do I get more people to follow me on Instagram? That's
Right.
never been my thought process. My thought process I need to develop my message better.
Yeah.
And if I'll develop that, and the people who spend all their time developing fame and attention, they get there and they realize they don't have a message. They spend all their time on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
My thought process has been, I'm just going to continue to develop my message. And if I don't have an audience, it means my message isn't good enough. And let your message become so good that the audience is undeniable, right? And this is what'll actually produce the fruit in your life of wanting, because what you want on the other side of fame or credibility is, I want to have some influence, right? There's people out there that'll tell you, hey, we'll make you a Amazon bestseller in 30 days,
Yeah.
right? Who cares,
Right.
No one cares. Even if you do actually accomplish this and get this title, you're gonna walk around with this piece of paper showing everyone, "Hey guys, look, I'm Amazon bestseller. Look what I did."
Yeah.
Well, then it's actually weirder for people because they're like, "I don't want to. How did you? These things are disconnected. You're not someone of value that I would like to listen to." But you have this title,
Yeah.
right? And instead, why don't you be someone that people look at you like, I can't believe you're not a New York Times bestseller.
Right. Yeah. Gee, can you? I want to give. We didn't plan on sharing this, but like you and I talked about this. The best way to develop a message would be the obvious question. And can you tell people what your focus is? Because you preach virtually every Saturday at Mighty Men, and I would say they're very good messages. What you do before that? Because
Yeah, it's really from a faith perspective. I'm never worried that I'm not going to have something to say.
right.
Some of that's skill set, right? When you are a junior speaker, that's like for people who are afraid of public speaking. What if I get up there and I
Yeah.
freeze? Right? I'm not ever worried about that. I can always get up there and talk. That's not what I'm worried about. But in every week when I get the chance to speak in Mighty Men, every week when I speak, it just starts for me with a prayer. And sometimes I feel God speak to me very quickly. Other times I've sat there for 2 and 3 hours and kind of just waited. And what I'm waiting to hear is, God, what do you want them to hear?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what do you want me to say? One of my everyday prayers is, God, more of you and less of me.
Yeah.
And I pray every Saturday morning, Lord, when I speak, let them hear you and not me. And so that's my desire with the message that I'm developing is, God, what's the message you want them to hear? Because anything other than that, right? This is like a team. I'm very strong on these things. You've experienced the good and the bad of it. I know the greatness of what happens on a team when everyone's rowing together.
Yeah.
Okay. And there can be people on the team that have good intentions. They're like, oh, let me help. And like your help is the opposite of help.
Yeah.
Because you're not following the leader.
Right.
And the last thing I ever want to be is that type of person on God's team. That like God doesn't need my help.
Yeah. That's exactly
He
right.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. He needs me to follow him. Right. And I want to be useful. I want to be a great member of God's team. And what that means is me saying, God, what do you want?
Yeah.
Not like, here's how I think I could help you. God doesn't need me to be his consultant.
Yeah, that's so good. I wanted you to share that because I think for a lot of people, when they hear you talk about like you just go develop a great message, the heart of a great message is it comes from a great place, and the greatest place you could ever have something come from is obviously the creator of the universe. And so, it seems logical when you put it that way.
And the price part of that is, I don't say, God, what do you want me to say? What do you want them to hear? Asterisk, parentheses, that I'm willing to share.
Right.
That wouldn't be too painful for me to talk about. That wouldn't offend people. That would, God, what do you want me to say that would get people to like me?
Yeah.
What do you want me to say that would get people to want to stay here, attend more, give more? It's none of those thoughts. God, what do you want?
Yeah.
That's the end of the thought.
Yeah.
And so that does require of me the willingness to, I'll pay whatever the price is. God, if this is the message you want me to speak, man, that's going to hurt, but that's what I'm willing to do.
Yeah, so good. So next one up, G, was money over mastery. And
Yeah, we'll wrap up with kind of just these. I've got two last thoughts here. Money over mastery. This is another one for people where, like, really what you're pursuing. People think they want money, but you look at some of the most successful people in the world, right? You know, guys like Sam Altman, guys like Elon Musk, the guys who are developing AI right now.
yeah,
They're not focused on making more money.
right, correct.
Their focus on for them, and I'll really oversimplify it. They're focused on gaining more power because money is not the end of the road for them, right? And I'll say that a little bit differently. The most important thing that you can do is develop mastery. Nick has heard me talk about in my own life, like, I don't fear not having money because I've developed myself to a place where, like, having no money is not scary to me.
Right.
Like, you can put me anywhere with zero resources and I know I can develop from there.
Yeah.
Because think if you gained all of this money, but you didn't have the ability to do it again, every dollar for you is another ounce of fear.
Yeah.
Because it's something that you have that you can't protect.
Right.
Right. Versus I know how to create money. Like, I'm never afraid of losing money. And so developing a mastery path, which is where you'd feel that way and have the ability to create value, to create money, is actually the real path that you want to go down.
Yes.
Not how do I get money? Because if you go down the how to get money, you'll end up making the wrong choices. It won't take you where you want to go.
Yep.
And if you do actually attain it, it'll be a burden to you instead of a blessing.
Yeah, because if you follow one of these hack paths, the problem is when the hack path doesn't work anymore, what do? That's what it actually looks like. Is like, I learned a very specific way to make money. Like, I sold things on Amazon. Well, then everybody sold things on Amazon, and what you were doing didn't work anymore. And now you're stuck with, like, well, I only knew how to do it one way. That's a lot of people, what you just described. Whereas if you actually understand the whole creation process, it's very different. So yeah, that's so good. I could go on and on, but keep going, G.
The last one here, and we'll wrap up, is again, these are just shortcuts that people take. And this is volume versus validity. This is much of, we see a lot of this in social media and in the fame and attention world.
Yeah.
This is similar to my audience versus message thought process. But instead of being the loudest, instead of, and the volume here can be emotions. Volume here can actually be the volume of your voice. Volume here can be how hard you're trying at some of the wrong things. But you're trying to gain power and gain authority by just overpowering things. By just instead, the right way to grow, the right way to actually have power is to stand on the truth. That's volume versus validity. So live a life, live a message that's going in the right direction, that's based on the foundation of truth, and that's far more like, you can whisper the truth, and it's louder than the loudest lie.
Yeah, that's so good. So I really hope as we wrap up here that you're realizing that the question you need to be asking is not price-led, but it's choosing the right things. That's the place to start, right? Is when you choose the right things, understand you don't get to determine the price, and you'll never know the exact price, but as you go on and pay it, there's a joy in the process of becoming. You're developing the fruits so that you can be the type of person that can sustain the vision when you get there. And if you can pay that price and keep walking the path and resist the temptation for shortcuts, you will truly see a life that's exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask, think, or imagine, just like God promised.